Hello, hello, hello. I'm so happy to be back live. I have a wonderful guest today, and we're going to talk about the nervous system. There she is. There is Jenny. I'm going to chat a bit about her before I let her in. But I have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Jenny Smith. Hi Anita. She's a dear friend of mine. I love her to death. She's actually changed my life. Hi Lauren. And she's also a teacher of mine. She's also my Kundalini Yoga teacher. She introduced me to it and I've fallen in love with it. It has changed my life. We did a few collaborations together in the past. We did a live together in the past as well, where you can hear more about her personal story, her spiritual awakening, all these things. Hi, Em. And yeah, so today is going to be all about the nervous system because, as you all may know, I am a big advocate for a holistic approach rather than just staying up here. Yes, I will save the replay, Lauren, no problem at all. Put your baby to sleep. And Jenny's gonna share some tools with you as well, or at least we'll do a little practice at the end so you can really practice strengthening your nervous system. And yeah, I am excited. Shall we invite her in? Come here, Jenny. Oh, hi, Jasmine. Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay. Jenny, here. Hopefully she's coming in. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Hi. Hello, my love. How are you?
You? I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. What a lovely introduction. Thank you.
I really feel this way, honestly. I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier, actually, because I was sitting with it and I was thinking, I'm going to do a little introduction for Jenny. And then I was like, this woman has literally changed my life.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're doing all the work.
Yeah, and in turn, that has actually changed my clients' lives too, because I was able to. It's so nice how this always has this ripple effect, when we heal and when we transform, it has an effect on the rest of the world or the people around us. It's so beautiful. And for those of you, I haven't mentioned this yet, actually, Jenny is going to be a guest teacher for Recreate Yourself for my program. I haven't announced this anywhere yet. So this is the official announcement. She's going to create an amazing workshop all about strengthening the nervous system. So if you're a part of Recreate Yourself now or in the future, you will be able to experience her magic in depth. So I'm excited for that.
Can't wait to be a part of that. It sounds brilliant what you're creating.
It's my masterpiece. Honestly, it feels like my life's work.
Can't wait.
Beautiful. Okay, shall we get started chatting a bit away about the nervous system?
Yes, let's do it.
Yes. Right, where do we start? Do you just want to talk a bit about why you find the nervous system important and maybe the experiences that you have made?
Okay, I guess the main place to start is talking about what the nervous system is, and in regards to yoga, which is what we're how we're tapping into it. So very broadly speaking, without going into too much detail, we can think of the nervous system in two very broad parts. So it's made up of the brain and the spinal cord, and then that's the central nervous system, and then you've got the peripheral nervous system, which is the cranial, the spinal, and the peripheral nerves. Okay, very broadly speaking. And the way that I guess it works is that the nerves are like telephone wires, and they send messages to each other, to connect different different parts of the body and the brain. And I like to think of the nervous system as the way that we experience the world. Mm-hmm. And also the way that we experience our internal world as well, and those messages that get sent between the body and the brain. And so that's kind of how I work with it in yogic terms. There's loads of different ways, you know, that yoga helps the nervous system. I mean, from the movement itself, you know, particularly if you're looking to strengthen the nervous system, we can also look at how we help the autonomic nervous system. So mm-hmm. how we experience and deal with stress, how we can soothe ourselves. And yeah, that's kind of, you know, what we can work with today as well. Mm-hmm. We could do a couple of, you know, exercises on how we can ramp ourselves up, you know, if you're feeling low in energy and you want to, yeah, and you want to give yourself a little bit of a, you know, an energetic boost, mm-hmm. or if you want to be able to self-soothe as well. And so I like to think of the autonomic nervous system as like having as like a gear stick. Mm-hmm. So when you think of it in that way, you want to have a gear stick that can be in this rest and digest state. So when we're working with the parasympathetic nervous system, you want to be able to, you know, after a long day of work or whatever you've been doing, you want to come home and you want to be able to relax. Now, a lot of us find that quite challenging. We're either here or we're there.
Yeah.
It's difficult to be in that middle ground.
And especially like the people who get into the area of work that I'm in, mm-hmm. there's a lot of people that are acting very much from survival mode. There's a lot of stress going on. So that's very applicable.
Modern life is overstimulating. We are all overstimulated. And so it's a really important tool to have lots of tools in your tool bag to be able to regulate your nervous system, to be able to calm yourself. And one of those ways that you know very well is, and that you work with, is the breath. You know, the breath is an incredible tool to be able to, you know, essentially hijack your own system, to be able to soothe yourself. But it's not just about that as well. You know, you want to. It's not quite as binary as like, oh, you're either, you know, in a parasympathetic state or you're in a sympathetic state. You know, you're either activated or you're deactivated. You want to be in this kind of, a strong nervous system, a strong, healthy nervous system allows you to be able to switch smoothly with your gears. You know, you can be, okay, it's time for action. I need to do this. I need to look after the kids. I need to look after, something's broken in the house. I need to have energy to live my life. But you also want to be able to, switch to, okay, I can switch off now, I can relax. And so many of us are stuck in one state or the other. We're either like in a very high sympathetic state. So, we're probably working with, anxiety, stress, which we are able to cope with. We are able to be in that state. We're built to be able to deal with stress. It's what the difficult part is, how do we then switch off? How do we unwind? And that's where I believe, that these practices can really come in and help us when we have those tools that we need. So we have lots of like activating breath work that can give us that energy and help us to become more activated. And we have breath work that can also soothe, relax, help us to self-soothe, essentially.
Yeah. And I think like most people that I've spoken to, at least, in this line of work that I'm are familiar with self-soothing, some techniques to really calm down the nervous system and really get to a state of rest, because they're used to being activated, they're used to being in survival mode, so that's their way of, they are often used to self-soothing. But something that I find really interesting about the work that you do, and in particular in Kundalini Yoga, is that there are so many practices that work on strengthening the nervous system, so you're able to actually face that adversity, so you're actually able to deal with that discomfort and sit with the pain, and that in particular is so interesting for all of you guys here watching or watching the replay who are interested in manifestation and who want to create a new reality for themselves. There is always a period of time whilst you're stepping into a new version of yourself, whilst you're embodying a new reality, that your physical circumstances are not the way you want them to be. There's always like this period of time where it's maybe painful or the opposite of what you want. And that's when it really counts that you stay in your embodied state and that you persist and that you don't give up. And it's not, as I always say, it's not about denial of what's going on, but it's about knowing how to deal with it. And that's where your work is so beneficial, because when your body, when your nervous system is able to face that discomfort and sit with that and deal with that, then the mind calms down too. And then there's not so much wavering and back and forth and getting out of sync with what you want. So
there's a connect. There's we're so. I really feel nowadays that we're so much in our heads, and so we allow this somatic experience of being in the body, and actually our bodies are able to experience this kind of physical stress, but we don't put the body under any kind of duress nowadays. And this is why I also think that things like cold water swimming as well, or cold water exposure, is putting the body under a little bit of physical duress, because so many of us are in our heads, and so we don't experience physical discomfort in the way that our bodies are built to be able to experience physical discomfort nowadays. All the discomfort we feel is up here. It's in our, it's that mental stress that we are either put in because of our external circumstances and just modern life, all of this technology, this tech stress that we all have experience as well. And the system doesn't understand, to a certain degree, the physical danger versus a really stressful email that you've just received. So what we practice on the mat, and I'm really big on this, I'm like, if you can experience challenge, physical challenge, sitting on your mat, and put your nervous system underneath that little bit of discomfort, and sit with it and develop tools. So develop a deeper breath, develop an inner dialogue that says, no, it's okay, we've got this, we can sit with this. We're not going to die. It's just uncomfortable. And there's a big difference. I always say, don't push into pain. I'm not making my students sit there in agony. It's discomfort. It's experiencing that discomfort that we're all built to be able to experience, and sitting with it and developing those tools and developing that relationship, those messages between the brain and the mind and the body, that it's okay, you can sit here with this discomfort. And that's where we strengthen, that's where we build resilience, and that's where we can do the work on the mat that will help us when things in our real lives get a little bit challenging. And because we've flexed that muscle, we've created those neural pathways, those nerve pathways that say, no, we can sit with this discomfort. I know this sensation. I've sat with this sensation in my body, or things aren't comfortable. This is uncharted territory for me. I'm not used to this. Where you are, if you've sat with it in your practice and you've developed that relationship between mind and body, the way that you experience your inner world and the way that you experience your external world, it's huge.
And it's mirrored as well. If you're able to find that within, it will reflect outward in the same way as well. So I think it's a really beautiful starting point. And often what I notice is that people give up when things feel difficult. There is discomfort, and then they're like, oh, it feels uncomfortable, let me not do this. But when you train yourself to actually sit with that discomfort, and as you say, it's not about torturing yourself, it's not about being in suffering, it's quite the opposite actually, because when you're able to sit with it and you practice holding yourself through it and regulating your nervous system and strengthening your nervous system, then what's happening is that it doesn't lead to suffering, because it's then just an impermanent experience that you're able to sit with and fairly easily transcend, because you know it's not going to last, and because you know you're strong enough. And when you're able to do that, you know, in a practice like in yoga, then you're also, or in breath work, it's similar. It can be very uncomfortable as well at times. Not always, you know, it can be overwhelming sometimes, can be almost trippy. You know?
Yeah, the way that I love to think of that, you know, when you're doing that kind of trippy breath work as well, and when you're doing the breath holds, and you know, people say, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to hyperventilate? Why would you want to breathe really quickly? You're bending your system so that you don't break.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting, again, it's that duress that you're putting yourself under. You're practicing going into different states, so that you become more flexible within your system, so that when you're experiencing life, you're more flexible, rather than like, you know, you suddenly you feel a little bit of discomfort, or your breath's shallow as well. When the breath is shallow, that's a message that's being sent, you know, to your brain, like that you're not okay, that, you know, you're in this panicked state. So, and also from a very physical perspective as well, when you breathe deeply, you're affecting nerves that are in the diaphragm, you know, the phrenic nerve that goes, the only nerve that goes from the diaphragm into the brain, that sends that message again that you are safe, that your system is relaxed. And it's, you know, it's not just taking a deep breath. There's so much going on when you are able to regulate your own breath.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love how you say that, you know, you stretch yourself, you bend so you don't break. I think with forms of breath work, like the kind of breath work that I teach, transformational breath, and you know, there's so many, you teach so much breath work. It's so beautiful. Everyone should experience this, honestly. You can go check out Jenny's classes as well if you're not part of my program. Go check out her classes. Amazing. I'm always there. But what you do there, it's a controlled hyperventilation, right? You're doing it on purpose, because it's almost like you're taking charge then. It's not uncontrolled. It's not, yeah, you're activating the sympathetic nervous system in that case, but you're doing so intentionally. And when you do that afterwards, your body automatically goes into parasympathetic. Essentially, it automatically slows down because you've done that intentionally, so it's not like an overwhelm thing.
Yeah, I would say as well, like, I think some people are really apprehensive to do that intensive breath work, particularly if they've experienced panic attacks or anxiety attacks. And my personal experience of having suffered panic attacks, and then doing this, you know, activated breath work, is that I am the driver rather than the passenger. You know, I'm in charge of the sensations that I'm creating in my body, which for me are very similar sensations to having a panic attack. That tingling, the tetania, you know, the kind of the loss of hearing a little bit. I know it sounds so glamorous, but you know, I can then have the experience of creating those sensations in my body via my breath in a situation where I'm controlled, and I'm perhaps, you know,
And you're
obviously I'm safe because I was with a practitioner that was leading me through it. And I think that's the most important thing as well, is when you're beginning this and you do have a history of panic or anxiety attacks, is being with someone who knows how to hold the space for you and knows when to ask you to, you know, it prepares you, and knowing when to pull back yourself as well, and someone who's going to help you pull back when you need to. And then just experiencing those sensations from a place of control, rather than feeling like your system is, you know, you have no control whatsoever, and that what's happening to you is very scary because you have no control over that. So that's my personal experience of that activated breath work, and really taking the control back from your system. That's, I think we struggle with not being in control. Of course we do. We all struggle with
Yeah.
feeling like we don't have control.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know as well as I do, we don't actually have as much control as we think we do, but you know.
I'm the ones who think we have all of the control.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I love the focus on the breath. It's always when people ask me, what's the best way to change your state of being? I'm always like, breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the breath is the quickest way to change your state.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like very activated. Deep breathing when when you need energy, breathing when you really want to go into transcendental states, breathing. Like, it's always the breath, no matter what's going on. You have so much power when you use your breath. And when people only try to solve things through the mind and don't incorporate the body, it doesn't work, because it's like when you try to convince yourself of something but your body tells a different story. It's like you said, that disconnect. The body needs to be in alignment with what the mind says, and the other way around. Your body is speaking to you as well. When you feel like, this is often when people use as well, like things like affirmations. That's when I also say the nervous system is so important, because when you like stand in front of the mirror and you tell yourself, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, or I am beautiful, I am beautiful, I am beautiful, but your body knows you're lying. You're almost fighting yourself. Like, your body always knows the truth. So like, always start with the body, and then the rest almost comes automatically. It's way easier as well when your body is in a good state.
Absolutely. And it's, yeah, I guess it's part of that old part of the brain as well. The language only came about, much later than the part of the brain that's responsible for, soothing the nervous system, that isn't controlled by the language that came much later than things like the breath, the somatic experience of your body as well. We often think we can talk ourselves into it, whereas we can very quickly hijack the system with the breath, with that somatic experience as well of moving the body in a certain way.
Yeah, movement is also so important. It's also one of the tools where, like I'm very big on some embodiment practices, especially for like releasing emotions, for shifting states. Because when you're feeling whatever emotion, sometimes you don't even know. Sometimes all you're feeling is resistance, and something is there. The best thing to do is to just move it, to just start moving, like in whatever way feels good and whatever is intuitively right, and you will see how it shifts automatically. But when you sit there and try to think it away, nothing happens. You often make it worse, because it often creates more resistance and more tension. But when emotions need to be released as well, like you can really move it out.
Absolutely. And that's nervous system release, that's somatic release. And that's like, like I was saying again, it's that very old part of the brain, that reptilian part of the brain. We have that there. We don't have, the mind came much later. The evolution of the mind and the thinking mind, and where we're at right now with this frontal thinking came a lot later. So there's this complete disconnect, when we try to think, like you say, when we try to think it out, or we try to, speak it, I mean, obviously like speaking therapies and stuff are amazing, but if you want a very quick, hijack of your system, get into the brain, get into the breath, get into the movement. Those are the old parts that, those are the bits we can hijack, that old part of the brain, that where we feel that anxiety, where we feel that trauma, where the trauma gets stuck as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets stuck in the body. And yeah, what I just wanted to say is sound as well. So it's breath, sound, and movement in my opinion. Yeah, you're a big
So,
fan of sound, I know.
well, yeah, I mean, we do a lot of mantra, and you know, if we're gonna go with mantra and the benefits of it, I could be here all night. That's a completely different live. But what I will say about the nervous system and sound and creating that sound is like, from a very basic point of view, again, you're creating a vibration, and whenever you vibrate, you're stimulating the vagus nerve being the biggest parasympathetic nerve in the body, and it wanders all the way through from the base of the cranium to down into the pelvic floor, and on its way hits all of the organs, so it's sending that message everywhere.
Mm.
And when, you know, we do loads of weird stuff with our mouths in Kundalini Yoga, we stick the, and you know, you're sticking the tongue out, and it's got so many benefits, this breath where you stick the tongue out. But one of the biggest benefits is that vagal nerve stimulation, because the vagus nerve is really predominant around here at the mouth. And when you vibrate a sound, so a really simple one would be like a humming noise, you're going to feel really calm after that. And it's a lot to do with, well, one, you're creating your own vibration. Two, you're calming your breath with it as well. But three, it's vagal nerve stimulation in and around the mouth. And I also teach pregnancy yoga, and if ever there's a time to prepare people for, you know, being able to work with getting yourself into a parasympathetic nervous system state, so a calming state where you want to be able to, your body to open up and birth life, it's then. And so we do a lot of things with, you know, trying to calm and soothe, and we do this humming, you know, this noise, or we, you know, you stick the tongue out. You can really hijack the system that way. And
Yeah, that's beautiful. And now that you're saying that as well, because you were speaking about opening up, it's also something that's coming to me. People always ask me, how do I surrender? You know, how do I surrender? How do I surrender to receive, to relax? Nervous system work, because that is really, it's not just self-soothing, it's important too, but it's also, it opens you up to possibility as well. It's like a method of expansion, because there's always, you're often contracting, actually, especially when we're like in like an anxious state. But when we're like feeling safe, we also feel safe to open up, to surrender, and to receive.
absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Ah.
Shall we do a little, I don't know, now probably everyone is leaving if we're saying we're gonna do a little practice, but guys, are you down? Shall we do a little nervous system exercise?
Yeah. So do you want to do the one that I spoke about, or do you want to do the dog breath?
No, I don't want to do it. Don't make me do dog breath. Not today.
Okay, I won't make you do dog breath. So glamorous. Okay, so this is an exercise that we use that will put you under, you know, that a little bit of duress, like we said earlier, a little bit of discomfort. It's really simple, but is really effective, and it just allows you to feel that discomfort that we're talking about. And you know what happens, the great thing that you can do about this is just observe what happens when you experience that discomfort, and observe the narrative. What's going on? Is it your first reaction is, oh, this is horrendous, so I'm just going to drop my arms, I'm going to just get out of this? Or are you able to sit with it? Can you like deepen your breath? Can you maybe sway your body a little bit? Can you, you know, create that relationship where you're like, no, we can do this, you know, that internal dialogue that allows you to sit with the discomfort. So I'm just going to get into it. So you're going to bring your arms, you won't be able to see me, but you're going to bring both of your arms up like my one here. Okay.
Can
I'll
I
sit back a
say
little
how
bit.
excited I am for people who are joining just now?
I know, what a shame. Sorry. Okay, so you're going to bring your arms up like this, 60-degree angle, relax your shoulders, open your chest. And then you're going to create this movement here. You're just going to snap your fingers into the palms of your hands. Okay, your thumbs are just chilling, they don't need to be involved. Okay, so we're going to do this. And I've got my timer here, so we're going to do it for a certain amount of time. And all I want you to do is not drop your arms. Okay, so just snapping the fingers like this into the palms of the hands.
people are sending hearts where they should be.
Sorry?
They should be doing the exercise, and they're sending.
They will be. I absolutely believe that everyone that's here will be doing this right now. It's not just me and you, Lorena. So what you're going to do is, whilst we're doing this, you're going to obviously be starting to experience that discomfort, that cramping. And rather than contracting your body or squeezing every single muscle in your body or hating every minute of it, see if you can soften. See if you can soften what doesn't need to be tense. So that might be your face.
Use the breath. Deep breathing really helps with this.
Breathe deeply into your belly. Keep the arms straight, keep them tall, keep them up at 60 degrees. You're doing really well. We are almost there. And just notice what's going on in your mind. Deepening the breath. And the beautiful thing that happens after this is we get this release of our body's natural painkiller as well, your endorphins. And those endorphins will literally eat your stress hormones. So there's nothing that is bad about this exercise, okay? It's just that perceived discomfort. But your arms are not going to break. Your fingers are not going to fall off as much as it feels as if they will. Close the eyes, bring the focus inward, and deepen your breath. Relax the shoulders. We have got less than 60 seconds to go. Keep the fingers going nice and quickly. You can even start to sway your body a little bit. See how that feels. We usually do this to music, so you've got some rhythm to go to, but you can create your own internal dialogue. You can do this. The resistance that you feel usually becomes less as this goes on, but it may be different for you. 20 seconds to go.
That's nothing. You can do it.
10 seconds. Good. You're going to bring your hands up, hold them up, stop the movement and just hold. Inhale. Hold the breath, open the chest, stretch the fingers up. And exhale, release the hands down. And then you can just enjoy that release of endorphins.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this, Jenny.
Little stretch arms.
if some people actually stayed and did this, and
yeah, let's go.
If you did, I would love to hear what your experience was like. I've done this exercise before. I have to say, I actually find it fairly easy. I don't find it as uncomfortable as some other exercises that we do sometimes. No. But something that I noticed when I did this, that my mind immediately went, it's too crampy. It's going to cramp and it's going to be really uncomfortable and we can't do this, which is so interesting because of course we can do this. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but that's the point, it's the point to sit with the discomfort. It's not gonna kill you. It's not even gonna cause you pain. It's just discomfort.
Mm-hmm. And we don't like it. We're not used to it. We're used to feeling discomfort and removing ourselves from the situation.
Yeah.
Or distracting ourselves with our phones or,
Yeah.
I mean, the world around us is set up to distract us from our own discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah. We're avoiding it. We're avoiding it. It's always distraction.
Yeah.
Okay, so M said something. I was about to say nobody did it, but M is saying something, and Tracy and Anita. Okay, great. People are saying my arms are burning now. I was able to shift from focusing on the discomfort to being present. Beautiful.
Yes.
Well done.
Amazing.
That says definitely uncomfortable. My arms feel like lead. Yeah.
Well done, though.
Tracy said, I don't know, it would sort of go away, but then it would come back again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because you feel like, okay, it's gone, but then you get attached to the pleasure of that, and then your mind starts wandering to, ooh, it's uncomfortable again.
Yeah, and I mean, there are practices where we do stuff like that for a little bit longer, and then you can really, you know, because the first resistance you will feel always in the first couple of minutes. And so the first couple of minutes is usually just the resistance and the why the hell is this woman making me do this stuff? What am I doing here? You know, all of those things. And you just get the experience of that dialogue that goes on that, you know, you probably also we use in life as well. You know, like, why am I doing this stupid thing? You know, what would I'm just gonna forget about it, and that's often why we don't follow things through. You know.
Yeah. Beautiful. This was so great. Shall we open it up for a few questions, maybe, if any questions? I don't know if anybody will, but oh, beautiful. Anita, now. See, this is the magic of doing work with the nervous system. Often when we have anxiety, we're like, oh my God, I'm anxious. And we're getting stuck in like a spiral in our head. And we make it worse and worse. And we go down that rabbit hole. But often all we need to do is, as Tracy said, return to the present moment, return to the breath, center ourselves, go inward. And then we realize it's all okay. And often what we're stressed about is something that we in the moment don't have direct control over. So what's the point in stressing? Or something that is way in the future anyway. Again, what's the point in stressing? It hasn't even happened yet. So beautiful. I love these practices, and I'm so glad that you got a taste of it and that it made your anxiety disappear.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's such a huge connection between nervous system and the endocrine system as well, you know, so you're getting that hormonal balance as well.
Yeah, that's true. And what I want to say too, this is a tool that you showed us now. You guys can all use this now. You know how it works now. And, in your day-to-day, whenever you feel like I need to ground myself and I need to force myself to return to the breath, use it. Whenever you need a little nervous system boost, use it. Great. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Jenny or for me about this topic or related topics? We can stay on for a few more minutes and see if anything is coming through. I was like, maybe everybody leaves if we do this exercise.
What big shifts have you seen in your nervous system since, you kind of made these changes and started, using different practices? How would you say your nervous system has changed, or your nervous system?
Yeah, cool. I'll answer that, and then there's a couple of questions and we can answer them. But for me, I actually got into this work through a mental health crisis. I started getting really severe panic attacks, and that actually brought me on the spiritual path. It got me started with meditation initially. But what then happened to me is that I got into this rabbit hole of staying up here. How it often happens when you first start like a spiritual journey, especially in the manifestation community. It's often very mind focused, mindset and mental, and not very body based. And it just didn't work. It made things so much worse for me. ultimately, because as I said before, you can't solve it through the mind. You need to regulate the body. And that's how I kind of got into working with the nervous system. And it kind of started with breath work and with Kundalini Yoga. I felt very called to it, and it really changed my life. Like the first time I remember I went to one of your classes, and to answer your question, Anita, yes, Jenny has classes, and you should check out her Instagram. She has, I believe you have the link in your bio to book classes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm online on
Yeah.
Tuesdays. Yeah.
Yeah, it's online, and Anita is in the US as well, so you'll be able to join because it's I believe it's 7 p.m. UK time. Yeah, so that should be around, I don't know, midday afternoon, depending on where in the US you are. I remember, but yeah, so you can join. I'll be there too on Tuesdays. Where was I? Yeah, I remember the feeling I had the first time I walked out of your class. I was like, I feel fucking high. Like, I feel like I just took drugs, and I didn't. It was just breathing and really working with the body, the nervous system, the endocrine system, all the practices that we did. And it really, changed my state. And what I've noticed in on my day to day, it's just how I'm able to deal with stress. Really, that's the biggest thing, how I'm able to be a lot less reactive. When I feel triggered, I don't go react. I go like, ooh, I feel triggered. I feel the emotion, and I'm able to sit with it and process it without projecting it out. Or something that happened this morning actually was a good example. Something very basic, because I used to stress so much. I'm originally from Germany, so if I'm late, I freak out. I'm like, I need to be on time. This is like a thing that I always had. And if I was late to anything, I would get so anxious. I would freak out. And this morning I was at the hospital with Otis, or going to the hospital, and we could not get a taxi. And I was like, we're definitely going to be like 20 minutes late. And we finally got a taxi, and I can tell you for sure that 5 years ago, I would be sitting in that taxi, like agitated, like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. Oh my God, we're going to be late. And this time I was like, we're going to be late. I felt this like nervousness, and I immediately went like, nothing I can change about this. Like, I'm gonna be late, okay, like, but I can't do anything about it now. There's no point in stressing myself out. So that's like a shift over time that I've noticed, that was just natural. It's nothing that I need to like make myself do anymore, whereas I used to be very like a little ball of anxiety.
Well done.
M is asking, by the way, to answer that question too, are there any book recommendations on the nervous system and breath work? You probably...
Yes. So I was going to recommend Jane Nestor's book, Breath.
I was going to say that too.
It's Breath, the New Science of a Lost Art, I think it is. Really good. I mean, everything about breath that you could want to know. And it does mention Kundalini Yoga in there. It mentions all sorts of different breathing techniques, and the nervous system. If you want to understand a little bit more about the breath and the nervous system as well, a really interesting theory to look up is polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges. And he talks about, James Nestor talks about this theory in his book as well. So it is within there, but you could go, off, and there's loads of great YouTube clips about polyvagal theory as well. And just about the different states of the autonomic nervous system. Like I said, it's not quite as binary as, on or off. We have all of these blended states in between, and just how we can help ourselves with the breath as well.
I was going to recommend the same book. So funny that you say that.
It's a great book, it is, and he just covers so much about all sorts of, really comprehensive. Yeah, it's great.
Beautiful. Amazing. Cool. if there's no other questions, I guess we can end it here. Thank you everybody for joining. As I said before, if you want to get a taste of Jenny's medicine, you can join one of her classes. And she is also going to do a guest workshop for Recreate Yourself. And I'm really excited for that. It's going to be magical. It's going to be in the surrender phase for everybody who's joining soon, or who's going to join, or who's currently in the program. It's going to be in the surrender phase to really get your nervous system ready to deal with adversity, and also to receive what you want to receive, to open up, to feel safe, to feel regulated.
Amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you, everyone.
Always a pleasure. Have a lovely evening or day, everyone. And I'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.